We just want to be your teddy bear, me and Alonso.
I'm going to win this race.
I just think of Jack White's Elvis impression in Walk Hard when I see Elvis now, where he's like,
Well, when I see like older Elvis with the big sunglasses, I think of Val Kilmer in True Romance.
Oh, there you go. So, many incarnations.
Yeah. And when I think of young Elvis, I think of Val Kilmer in Real Genius. So there you go.
That makes sense. But now we have Austin Butler playing Elvis in Baz Luhrmann's Elvis. Alonso, tell us about it.
In that moment, Elvis the man was sacrificed. And Elvis the God was born.
If you're expecting a straightforward biopic, no, dispel that notion right now. This is Baz Luhrmann from stem to stern. Our narrator and guide is Colonel Tom Parker, of all people, played by Tom Hanks in what I think is the film's weak link performance, but more on that in a second. And so what we are getting is the Colonel Tom Parker version of events, which I think is key to note, because clearly this is not the gospel. There are a lot of books and a lot of films about the real Elvis and the real life story. This is the razzmatazz Baz Luhrmann version, but also the Colonel Tom Parker How I Did It version. But basically it is the story of how this carnival huckster sees this hot young rising singer out of Memphis, capitalizes on the fact that he has absorbed the sound and tempo of what they used to call race music, but was a white guy. And not for nothing does Eminem sing the song over the closing credits. His rise to stardom, his becoming a joke, his attempt to sort of revalidate his career with the 1968 comeback special, his eventual descent into drug abuse, his divorce from his wife Priscilla. I was electrified more often than I was not in this movie. I really thought this was just going to be a fiasco. And Austin Butler, I don't know who he is. I don't know where he came from. That's probably to this film's benefit, because instead of watching, Rami Malek pretending to be Freddie Mercury under Freddie Mercury's teeth, this guy just becomes Elvis.
Totally.
This is the most electrifying performance I have seen in a rock biopic since Chadwick Boseman in Get On Up. The performance sequences are electric and thrilling. I could watch Austin Butler like reenact the entire Vegas show because it's so vivid and so thrilling, and you understand why it blew the roof off people, and then you see how it just becomes this like bloated elephantine self-parody version of itself when Elvis is just more and more fucked up on whatever Dr. Nick is pumping into him. Tom Hanks is like a villain from the 1966 Batman show in this, like just crazy accent, nutty prosthetics, fat suit, all this stuff. I never stopped thinking like I was watching Tom Hanks do a bit,
Totally.
Whereas Austin Butler just becomes Elvis for me. Like he melts right into that character and it pops. Is this the factual truth? Of course not. Go read Steve Pond's lengthy piece on the Wrap about what's true in this movie and what's not. But I think this was thrilling, and I think that this is the, if we're grading on the scale of, is this the movie that Baz Luhrmann wanted it to be, and did he like hit the marks that he was trying to hit? I got to say, for the most part, yes.
Yeah, it's a blast. And I had a total blast the whole way through, and it is very long. It is 2 hours and 39 minutes long, but it zips by because at least off the top and for a long, long time, it has that kinetic, frenetic, nonstop Baz Luhrmann energy, just the kaleidoscopic depiction of this man's life and his past and his present and Vegas and all different kinds of music. And it definitely is, it hits hard the influence that Elvis had on pop culture. Like you see what influenced him, but then you see just the longevity and like how from a million different kinds of from boy bands to Eminem, as you put it. And there's like a piece of Britney Spears Toxic in there somewhere too. Like it's this whole kind of like crazy glittery blender of stuff, but I always had a good time. Austin Butler is fantastic. As you say, he's just thrilling to watch. He gets the danger of Elvis, right? Yeah. Like not just the showmanship, which absolutely he has, and the charm and like the kind of playful, flirtatious look in his eyes, but like you feel like when you're watching him that anything could happen, and that's scary and that's exciting. And for you see the young women, and of course like that's all amped up too. Women did of course react to him that way, but like it's even more like psychotically hyped up. Did people actually throw their panties on stage at Elvis back then, like in the 50s?
They might have. I don't know if the Tom Jones invented that. You have to remember, like he comes after Sinatra, so like we'd already seen young women go nuts for singers in this way, but this movie captures in a way that I almost as well as I've ever seen it in a film. Central Wilson, in her book about celebrity, talks about this notion of like this sexual frenzy, and how the steps of it are basically like, you know, I want to fuck Justin Bieber. I must fuck Justin Bieber. I will never fuck Justin Bieber. You know, those are the steps of it. And you see that in the movie. You see these women just like you see like this one woman is practically having her first orgasm just watching Elvis shake his hips around. And so you have to capture what it's like in a country that hadn't seen that kind of thing before. The movie maybe oversells the idea of like Elvis as civil rights hero, because let's face it, he was kind of the Zelig, if anything. He was sort of glomming on all this stuff and reselling it to white America, as a white person. But it does also capture why Elvis was dangerous to racists, because his entire fame was predicated on delivering the same sound and movement that only Black performers were doing at that time.
There's a blending there that is frightening to them, that is threatening to them, right? Yeah. They want the bifurcation, and they are not getting it. It's funny though, beneath all the Baz Luhrmann razzle dazzle, structurally, this is a very traditional biopic. This is a very traditional music biopic in that like it begins with his childhood. Actually, does it begin in Vegas and then flash back to his childhood? That's even more traditional, right? Well, to begin at the end and flash back.
I mean, it begins after he's dead, where Colonel Tom is like late in life, and then
right. Yeah. But it goes back to his, Tupelo and meeting BB King. Kelvin Harrison is very good as BB King. Yeah. Yola is fucking amazing as Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Oh my God.
Yeah, and I didn't. Who do you have in front of you who plays Little Richard? Because he's great too.
Alton Mason. He's beautiful.
Nails it. And
so fun.
And the Baz Luhrmann of it is you have to believe that like there's a moment where young Elvis peeks into a rusted shack to see a blues guitarist and then walks 300 feet to a revival tent to hear gospel music. Like it's of course not, but at the same time, yes,
that's Gary Clark Jr. doing that. So that's kind of fun.
Right, exactly.
And that's kind of fun too. So having, the structure though is like, here are his influences, here is his rise to fame, here are the montages of him like recording and having his hits go off the charts. We talk about Walk Hard here a lot, in my house where I am, but also on the show. And it actually is not as Walk Hardish as I had expected it would be.
No,
there are pieces of that,
Yeah, the first time somebody hands him a pill, Christy leans to me and goes, "You don't want any of this shit, man."
He never paid for drugs, not once. If you are looking for depth, if you're looking for a deeper understanding of Elvis Presley, that is not what Baz Luhrmann is here to give you.
No,
I think he's here to revel in showmanship. I've seen reviews and really beautifully written reviews where they're like, this doesn't tell me anything new. This provides no perspective. This doesn't hold anybody accountable for anything. And I just wonder, like, that's not what Baz Luhrmann set out to have as the assignment for himself here. I think he wants to revel in the spectacle and the superficiality of it all, and that's it.
Yeah, this is an Elvis as metaphor movie for the most part, in terms of what he meant to American culture, what he meant to show business in general, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, I think you have to kind of grade on a different scale, because he's not interested in a history lesson. This guy, he has always has another agenda in mind when he puts these things together. That's like complaining that Romeo and Juliet isn't true enough to the Shakespearean text, you know.
Right. They didn't do the balcony scene in a pool
What?
in Shakespeare. No,
There were
it's
no
different.
guns? What?
Crazy. Also, I should mention really fast. The costume design is, of course, incredible, and the production
Catherine
design.
Martin.
You
Yep.
want all the tacky, glittery shit. It's spangly, it's sparkly, it's all there.
Yes.
So I'm saying 7.8.
I said 7.6. That's a 7.7 from us. It is opening wide this weekend in theaters.
Elvis is everywhere.